2026 doesn't feel far away because it hasn't arrived yet. It feels distant because you're trying to walk towards something you're meant to align with. Most people believe the future is reached step by step, effort stacked on effort, habits layered on habits, like building a bridge one plank at a time. But what if the bridge to 2026 is already finished, just not on the frequency you're standing on? That's the paradox few ever notice. You don't enter the future through force. You access it through coherence. Right now, millions are planning goals, setting resolutions, rewriting routines, believing discipline alone will deliver a different life. But linear planning was never designed to cross quantum thresholds. It reorganizes behavior, not identity. It improves habits without changing the observer. The quantum field doesn't respond to timelines. It responds to states. Think of it like a radio. Turning the volume up doesn't bring you closer to a station. You receive a new signal only when the frequency changes. No matter how much effort you apply, the broadcast never shifts until the dial does. That's what's happening between you and 2026. You're not meant to drag the old version of yourself across the calendar and hope something changes. You're meant to release that version and tune into the identity that already exists there. This is why the end of the year feels strange for so many people. Not stress, not fear, a quiet tension. Goals that once excited you now feel empty. Strategies that used to work feel heavy. That's not confusion, it's misalignment. Your frequency no longer matches who you've been. From a quantum perspective, the future isn't created in sequence. It exists as a field of probabilities. Multiple versions of you already exist, including the one living the reality you associate with 2026. The only question is, which version are you resonant with right now? You don't become someone new just because the calendar changes. You carry your internal structure forward unless something shifts before the year does. That's why this moment matters. Not January, not later, now, because stepping into 2026 isn't about building something new. It's about releasing the version of you that can't receive what already exists. And once you see that, you stop asking how to get there and start asking who you need to stop being. Linear goals don't fail because they're wrong. They fail because they're incomplete. Reality doesn't respond to effort over time. It responds to coherence in the present. This is why traditional resolutions collapse so quickly. People change schedules, habits, even environments, but they keep the same internal reference point, the same relationship with pressure, the same emotional posture, the same expectation of delay, struggle, or proving. And the quantum field simply mirrors that consistency. From a classical mindset, this sounds frustrating. From a quantum perspective, it's logical. Reality doesn't move forward step by step the way the mind imagines. It collapses. It reorganizes. All at once when the internal signal becomes stable enough. That's why sudden breakthroughs feel shocking. Not because they're random, but because the internal shift happened quietly long before the external change became visible. Planning assumes the future is empty and must be constructed. The quantum field reveals something different. The future already exists as potential, and what manifests is the version you're most coherent with, not the one you want the most, the one you match the most. This is where linear thinking breaks down. People say, I'll become that version after I achieve this. But quantum mechanics flips that sequence. You achieve it after you become the version that can hold it. Identity precedes outcome. Neuroscience supports this. The brain doesn't wait for results to change its expectations. It changes behavior based on what it predicts will happen. If your internal model predicts effort, resistance, or delay, your actions unconsciously reinforce those outcomes. You're not sabotaging yourself. You're confirming your internal map. That's why forcing motivation at the end of the year feels exhausting. You're trying to override an identity with discipline, and discipline without coherence creates burnout, not transformation. The quantum field isn't impressed by how much you plan. It responds to how consistently you embody a state. Calm certainty collapses reality faster than frantic effort ever could. Presence reorganizes outcomes more efficiently than pressure. This is also why timelines stop making sense during real transitions. You feel disconnected from the rush, the urgency, the countdown. It's not apathy. It's your system realizing that the next version of you won't arrive through speed. It arrives through alignment. When you see this, you stop trying to drag the old self into the future with better habits. You recognize that something more fundamental needs to shift first. The question stops being, what do I need to do before 2026, and becomes what identity cannot come with me into 2026. That awareness alone changes how the field responds to you, because once you stop planning from the old frequency, space opens for a different collapse of reality. And that space is exactly what the end of the year is designed for. The end of the year is not just a date on the calendar. It's a psychological and energetic threshold, a moment when the collective unconscious loosens its grip on routine and briefly opens to reorganization. Even people who don't believe in manifestation feel it. The pause, the reflection, the sense that something is closing. From a quantum perspective, this matters more than people realize. When large groups enter reflection, simultaneously the field becomes less rigid, old narratives weaken, identity becomes more fluid. This is why transitions feel more potent at the end of a cycle. The signal noise drops. You're not imagining it. If time feels strange right now, if days blur together, if urgency dissolves, that's not laziness. That's the mind stepping out of linear tracking and into possibility awareness. The brain stops projecting forward aggressively and starts recalibrating. Neuroscience explains part of this. The mind uses temporal landmarks like the end of a year to reevaluate identity. It naturally becomes more receptive to change. Habits loosen, assumptions soften. And when assumptions soften, new internal configurations become possible. Spiritually, this is often described as a portal, not because something mystical opens in the sky, but because perception opens internally. The usual resistance to change isn't as strong. You're less attached to who you were 5 months ago, less invested in defending outdated goals. This is the moment when alignment becomes easier if you don't rush to fill the space with plans. Most people make the same mistake here. They sense the opening and immediately try to lock something in. New resolutions, new rules, new pressure. But pressure collapses the field prematurely. It forces outcomes from the same identity that's meant to dissolve. The opportunity of this moment is not action, it's attunement. This is when you stop asking what you want next year and start listening for who you already are becoming. The version of you aligned with 2026 doesn't arrive through effort. It's already present as a frequency. Calm, coherent, less reactive, less performative. When you allow yourself to sit in this end of your stillness without rushing, something unexpected happens. The future version of you stops feeling abstract. It feels familiar, not exciting, recognizable. That recognition is alignment, and alignment is the signal the quantum field responds to. Most clearly, you don't manifest the next chapter by trying to control it. You manifest it by becoming receptive enough to receive it, which brings us to the most important realization of all. 2026 isn't waiting for you to want it harder. It's waiting for you to arrive as someone who can hold it. At some point, manifestation stops being about what you want and becomes about who you're willing to leave behind. That's the moment identity takes precedence over desire. And identity is frequency. You don't attract what you think about. You align with what you've become, familiar with being. The version of you that exists in 2026 isn't defined by goals or achievements. It's defined by internal structure, how you respond to uncertainty, how you hold pressure, how you relate to time, silence, and trust. From a quantum perspective, identity functions like a tuning fork. It doesn't chase outcomes. It resonates with them. When your internal frequency stabilizes, the field doesn't need instructions. It organizes naturally around coherence. This is why effort alone can't carry you into a new reality. Effort belongs to the old self, the one that believes progress must feel heavy, earned, or proven. The future version of you operates differently, not lazily, efficiently, calmly, with far less internal friction. Neuroscience mirrors this perfectly. The brain doesn't wait for success to relax. It relaxes first, then allows access to better decisions, clearer perception, and improved timing. Regulation precedes expansion. Safety precedes growth. Spiritually, this is embodiment. You stop visualizing yourself as someone else and start occupying the internal posture of that person now. Not pretending, not affirming, allowing yourself to respond from that place in real moments. You'll notice subtle shifts when this happens. You stop explaining yourself as much. You stop chasing clarity. You don't need constant confirmation that you're on the right path. The urgency dissolves and, with it, the resistance. This is the point where manifestation feels less emotional and more inevitable. You're no longer trying to be positive. You're simply coherent. And coherence is the most powerful signal you can emit. The future version of you isn't waiting at the end of 2026. It's available now as a frequency. The only requirement is that you stop identifying with the version of you that can't access it. If this resonates, comment, "I am my new version." Now, not as a declaration to become someone else, but as recognition that you're already tuning into that state. Because once identity shifts, action follows effortlessly and reality reorganizes without force. All that's left is to seal this transition consciously, to close the old cycle without dragging it forward, and to welcome what's already aligned with you. That's what we'll do next. This final step isn't about visualization the way most people understand it. It's not about forcing images or emotions. It's about closing one frequency and welcoming another consciously. The ritual is simple, but it works because it speaks directly to identity, not imagination. First, pause. Not dramatically, just enough to feel where you are. Notice the version of you that carried 2025, the strategies you used, the patterns you relied on, the ways you protected yourself. You're not judging this version. You're acknowledging it. Every identity releases only when it's been seen. Now, here's the key part most people skip. Instead of asking what you want in 2026, ask what no longer fits. What reactions feel outdated? What internal urgency feels unnecessary? What effort feels forced? These are signals that the old frequency has already done its job. From a quantum perspective, collapse happens when observation becomes clear. You don't collapse a reality by wanting a new one. You collapse it by withdrawing identification from the old one. The moment you stop feeding it, it loses coherence. So silently, without ceremony, let the old version dissolve. Not through resistance, through completion. You don't need to push it away. You simply stop carrying it forward. Then comes the welcome. Instead of visualizing a future, seeing tune into a state, the internal posture of the version of you aligned with 2026, how they move through uncertainty, how they relate to time, how they hold silence without anxiety. Let that state settle into your body, not as excitement, as familiarity. Neuroscience tells us that when the body recognizes a state as safe and familiar, behavior reorganizes automatically. Spiritually, this is embodiment. You're not imagining a different self. You're allowing yourself to operate from a different internal structure. Now this is why the ritual works quietly. There's no emotional spike, no dramatic moment, just a subtle shift in how you occupy yourself. To seal it, anchor it in language, not as affirmation, but as orientation. Say internally or out loud, I release what no longer matches me. I welcome what already knows me. That's it. No repetition needed. No effort required. The field doesn't respond to rituals because they're symbolic. It responds because they create coherence. And coherence is the most powerful instruction you can give reality. As you move forward, don't monitor results. Don't check if it worked. Those behaviors belong to the old identity. The new one trusts timing. It responds instead of chasing. This transition isn't about becoming someone new overnight. It's about finally stopping being who you no longer are. And that's why this moment matters more than January ever could. In quantum rebirth, I created a deeper framework for this. Exact transition, understanding identity. Shifts, stabilizing coherence, and entering a new cycle without collapsing. Back into old patterns. And alongside it, the quantum grimoire exists as a practical companion, a place to observe, integrate, and anchor these shifts as they unfold naturally. You'll find both in the pinned comment for whenever you feel ready to go deeper. You don't walk into 2026 carrying the old you. You tune into it and let the future meet you there. What makes this transition different from every other year you've lived isn't what you plan to do next. It's what you're no longer willing to carry forward unconsciously. Most people drag unfinished identities into new timelines, old fears disguised as caution, old urgency disguised as ambition, old survival strategies disguised as discipline, and then they wonder why the future keeps resembling the past. You don't need to fix your past to enter 2026 differently. You need to stop identifying with it. This is the quiet power of quantum shifts. They don't announce themselves. They don't feel dramatic. They feel like relief, like exhaling something you didn't realize you were holding, like realizing you don't have to keep rehearsing the same internal arguments anymore. When you stop narrating who you were, space opens for who you're becoming. From a quantum perspective, this is when timelines diverge, not because you made a bold decision, but because you stabilized a different internal reference point. Reality doesn't follow intention, it follows identity, consistency, and once consistency changes, outcomes rearrange themselves naturally. This is also why doubt often appears right before real shifts, not because something is wrong, but because the old identity senses it's no longer in control. Doubt is the echo of a version of you realizing it won't be carried forward. You don't need to fight that voice. You don't need to silence it. You simply don't need to obey it anymore. The future version of you doesn't feel rushed. It doesn't feel desperate. It doesn't need constant reassurance. It moves with clarity because it's no longer negotiating its worth with time. As you step toward 2026, remember this. You're not entering it as a blank slate. You're entering it as an observer who finally understands how reality responds. And once you understand that, you stop asking when things will change. You start noticing that they already have. This isn't about hope. It's about readiness. And readiness doesn't wait. It aligns.